You're watching ABC7 News at 7.
This is such an important decision, and we're going to give you a great one like Justice Gorsuch. We hit a home run there, and we're going to hit a home run here.
President Trump intent on leaving a legacy on the U.S. Supreme Court, but with a razor-thin Senate majority, what will happen? Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Cohen, and welcome to ABC 7 at 7. We'll have more on the week in Washington in a moment, but first, our top stories at 7. An upscale hotel in Sarasota is apologizing tonight after an African-American family found a disgusting racist note in their room. It happened at the Art Ovation Hotel in downtown Sarasota. In an exclusive interview with ABC7's Dwayne Lindo, Frank Davis tells us he and his family left the room to have breakfast and go shopping. When they returned, they noticed this note inside a lamp. Davis said he believes whoever left the note had access to their room.
That is either the hotel staff or somebody who bamboozled the hotel staff into letting them have access to my room for some unknown reason.
The hotel offered a free night stay, according to Davis, but his family declined, saying they no longer felt safe staying there. Late this afternoon, the hotel sent us this statement: "We apologize for this guest's experience. We remain committed to providing an environment where all feel welcome. Allegations such as this are very concerning to us. The matter is being actively investigated and appropriate actions will be taken." Based on the findings, hotel leadership has engaged with the guest and have extended our apologies. In addition, the hotel will be reinforcing its sensitivity training with associates at all levels. Our corporate team has contacted the guest and apologized as well. A Manatee County charter school is celebrating a new rating from the state after going from an F to an A in only 2 years. The co-founder of the all-boys elementary school, Visible Men's Academy, says the improvement is due in part to switching to the iReady learning program that aligns better with Florida's assessment tests. The school curriculum also places a heavy emphasis on character development.
With whatever misgivings I have with the overemphasis on standardized testing, if they're going to grade it, then we're going to try to get an A, right? I mean, there's no other approach. We're struggling.
Visible Men's Academy grew to 100 students last year who all come from low-income families at or below the poverty line. A first for the city of Sarasota, a medical marijuana dispensary has been okayed. A permit was approved this week for the Trulieve-owned facility on North Beneva Road in the Sarasota Commons Plaza. After zoning changes passed this year, medical marijuana dispensaries are allowed in the downtown area. Trulieve is the only medical marijuana dispensary to submit a permit application so far. Currently, Trulieve is working on opening a facility in Venice as well at the Pine Shopping Plaza on Jacaranda Boulevard, and AltMed plans to open the dispensary on Fruitville Road in the Cobia Bay Plaza. Looking to increase safety, the Holmes Beach Police Department is trying something new in the fight against crime, asking anyone who has a surveillance camera to join a database. The chief says the cases like last week's home invasion, releasing security footage to the public, has helped identify a suspect quickly. The new program, called Rascal, allows residents and business owners to tell them where the security cameras are located so police can get footage. The chief assures people this is not a violation of anyone's privacy.
They're giving us the data on they have a camera. We have to go to them to get the video. We can't just tap into their video.
If you'd like to register your camera, you could do so online or in person at the police department. Holmes Beach police say they are testing a lake for pollution after neighbors sounded the alarm. Spring Lake is located between 68th Street and 70th Street near Palm Avenue. Residents say the pollution began back in 2015 when 22,000 gallons of sewage from a pipe Manatee County owns spilled into the lake, killing hundreds of fish. And the annual Lionfish Derby is officially underway. All weekend long, fishermen will take aim at reducing the invasive species in area waters. They compete for the biggest haul, and then the community reaps the benefit. The public is welcome to taste lionfish dishes prepared by top local chefs like Bob Harrigan. and the first hurricane of the 2018 season is forming in the Atlantic. With more, let's get over to ABC7's chief meteorologist Bob Harrigan with the first alert forecast. Bob.
Thanks, Alan. This storm only bothering fishes out there and some shipping interest as well. So basically it's a fish storm right now, but in about 3 days from now, it's going to be approaching the Lesser Antilles, and it will have an impact there. It is a very, very small storm system. And in fact, the hurricane force winds only extend out 10 miles from the center, and tropical storm force winds 35 miles from the center. And earlier today, it had a well-defined eye on this small hurricane now. It's the first hurricane of the season. A little early for those storms to pop up in the Atlantic. In fact, there's only been 3 that have ever popped up since 1950 this early in the season. You can see it's in low latitude too. It's staying on that westerly course right now. There's not a lot of banding feature. It doesn't look all that impressive. In fact, it looks just like a cluster of storms right there gathered over one area, and it's still a long way away, over 900 miles east of the Lesser Antilles. It's pushing to the west at 15. Here's the latest now from the National Hurricane Center. Top winds are at 80 miles an hour. And it's moving to the west at 15. The pressure really hasn't dropped all that much, and that's an estimated pressure and wind speed for that matter. It looks like it's going to make landfall sometime late Sunday and into early Monday into the central portion of the islands there, and then continue on a westerly course. And again, looks like it will be downgraded to a tropical storm, although we have to keep an eye on the intensity because the Hurricane Center had downgraded it earlier yesterday right here, and now it's downgrading the system down to a tropical storm by Monday. The winds are expected to be really quite strong here out of the south and should blow it apart and open it up to a wave after day 5. In fact, it only goes to day 4 there. So we'll keep an eye on that for you, obviously. And we have another system we're watching as well, just to the southeast of the Carolinas. Well, more on that coming up a little bit. Now we want to keep your family informed and up to date and up to speed when it comes to hurricane preparation. And you can do so by going to our website, mysuncoast.com. Clicking on the weather section tab, and then a down menu drops down and you can click on the Hurricane Center and watch our program, Surviving a Hurricane, that has a lot of great tips from a lot of experts. Alan?
Thanks, Bob. President Trump held one of his standard rallies last night, this time mocking the Me Too movement, a former president, a dying senator, attacking journalists and Democrats, hyping up his Supreme Court nominee announcement on Monday. CNN's Boris Sanchez has more.
In choosing a new justice, I will select someone with impeccable credentials.
President Trump starting a long weekend in New Jersey by teasing the primetime announcement of his Supreme Court Justice nominee as if it's an upcoming episode of The Apprentice.
I'm looking for The Apprentice. And who will be?
His weekly address, a major change in tone from Thursday night's raucous rally in Montana. The president drawing cheers while taking aim at familiar targets like Senator Elizabeth Warren. Trump suggesting the Massachusetts Democrat take a DNA test to prove her claims of Native American heritage.
I'm going to get one of those little kits. And in the middle of the debate, when she proclaims that she's of Indian heritage because her mother said she has high cheekbones, we will take that little kit and say, but we have to do it gently. Because we're in the Me Too generation, so we have to be very gentle. And we will very gently take that kit, and we will slowly toss it.
Trump also mocked a former Republican president, ridiculing 94-year-old George H.W. Bush's trademark phrase.
I've spoken of 1,000 points of light.
You know, all the rhetoric you used to hear, the 1,000 points of light. What the hell was that, by the way? 1,000 points of light. What did that mean? Does anyone know?
Trump took a noticeably different approach when talking about Russian President Vladimir Putin.
I'm meeting with President Putin next week and getting along, let me tell you, getting along with Russia and getting along with China and getting along with other countries is a good thing. It's not a bad thing, it's a good thing. You know, President Putin is KGB and this and that. You know what? Putin's fine. He's fine. We're all fine. We're people.
Coming up next, he not only teaches political science, he's a former state representative too, plus the heart and the soul of the Sarasota Republican Party and the political editor of SRQ magazine, all at that roundtable that we call the Trapezoid.
once you get atrial fibrillation, you need to have a very close relationship with your primary doctor. Prevention is the whole ball game here, because once you have a stroke, you can't undo it. A year without stroke is a year that you can enjoy doing the things that you've worked all your life to finally get to do. You took care of yourself. You did what is necessary for you to be around one more year. And then next year, we'll celebrate one more year without a stroke.
I heard about the Dotoli Cancer Center through friends of mine who had been treated here and were very pleased with the treatment.
If there is prostate cancer, we at the Dotoli Cancer Center will find it using 3D color flow Doppler ultrasound.
And that helped precisely identify where my cancer was. I can tell you that you will not find a finer, more professional team of clinicians anywhere in the world.
Did you know that a dirty CPAP system can make you sick? If you knew what could be growing in your mask and hose, it would keep you up at night. Now SoClean.com has released the world's first and only automated hands-free CPAP cleaner and sanitizer. With its patented design, SoClean is fast, effective, and hands-free, killing 99.9% of all CPAP germs. Try SoClean now through this special TV offer free for 30 days. Just call 800-604-0398.
My health has improved. It's simple to use, and I'm not worried about infections.
SoClean works on all CPAP machines and popular masks, destroying CPAP bacteria, viruses, and germs without the daily hassle of washing your system by hand. Just place your mask in, close the lid, and in just minutes, voila! Sanitized and ready to use. Try SoClean risk-free for 30 days. This is a limited time offer. Call now, 800-604-0398. Or visit SoClean.com today.
Did you know you could get life insurance for less than 32 cents a day? With guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance through TrueStage, you can get up to $25,000 in protection with a single phone call. TrueStage can help free your family from immediate financial stress when you're gone.
Utility bills, mortgages, car payments, those are a lot of things that can add up pretty fast.
And even if you're on a fixed income, prices fit your budget, starting at less than 32 cents a day. Plus, your price will never increase and your benefit will never decrease. And with no medical tests or health questions, you cannot be turned down for any reason. Call 1-800-842-7189. Now, for a free, no-obligation quote, TrueStage offers plans to fit your budget. Help protect your family from immediate financial burdens after you're gone with guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance through TrueStage. Call 1-800-842-7189 now.
Welcome back. So what gets your heart pumping more? The fact President Trump will name his choice for the Supreme Court Monday a pick that will tip the balance of the High Court and possibly mean Roe versus Wade's days are numbered. Or how about that rally last night in Montana, the president mocking the Me Too movement, a Republican president who just lost his wife, a U.S. senator dying of brain cancer, a woman senator, a black congresswoman, journalists a week after 5 were shot dead, all while expressing admiration for North Korea's dear leader, disdain for NATO, saying we're schmucks for supporting it, and expressing admiration for Vladimir Putin, who annexed Crimea and, by the way, interfered with our presidential election, which, by the way, the Republican-controlled Senate Intelligence Committee concluded this week. Joining us for more is New College Florida political science professor Keith Fitzgerald, the political editor of SRQ magazine Jacob Ogles, and Lynn Larson of the Sarasota Republican Party. Thank you all for joining us. And Lynn, let me first get your reaction to one of the many things the president said last night, and that is about the Me Too movement.
Let's say I'm debating Pocahontas, right? I promise you I'll do this. I will take, you know those little kits they sell on television for $2? Learn your heritage. We will take that little kit and say, but we have to do it gently. Because we're in the Me Too generation, so we have to be very gentle.
Lynn, as a Republican, as a woman, what do you think of that?
I've been part of the Me Too, I can tell you, because I've been there, and I was there when women weren't supposed to be, according to my coworkers, and the coworkers and some of my bosses politely let me know and impolitely let me know that I did not belong there. But I think it's a problem now for us to hinge our entire present on trying to look back at the past and redo what was happening at that time.
But it comes at a time when, according to a brand new Washington Post poll, that only 32% of all women approve of the president's job performance.
Well, 32% may approve of the job he's doing, but you know, how many disapprove? Do we know how many disapprove?
Okay, we could get into a little bit more, but Jacob, let me ask you this. What impact does it have around here, especially with Republican women, especially considering the special election a couple of months ago where a lot of Republican women crossed over to vote for Margaret Good?
Well, and you're seeing a lot of women running across the board, and in fact, this area for years, not just recently, has shown a preference among the candidates for women running for office more than other areas. So it's interesting. I'm not sure what it's going to translate into this November. I do think that it's kind of another spin on the pushback to political correctness that worked well for Trump in 2016.
And Keith, that's an important point, because isn't it true that the vast majority of Trump supporters really don't care about what he says at rallies like that? They are with him thick and thin. They're basically, many of them say, that he is simply saying what they're all thinking.
Well, I hope they're not all thinking some of the things he said last night. You know, I think there are some people who continue to support him in spite of this kind of behavior. I think there are some people who support him precisely because of this kind of behavior, and that's sort of a different group. I think the thing that's so disturbing is that when you made your comments about the Me Too movement, we could have a reasonable discussion about, is it in the place where it needs to be. He's mocking a topic that's really important, and he was mocking a whole bunch of things last night, and Republican presidents is just unseemly.
Our conversation on the Week in Washington continues right after we get a check on the First Alert forecast with Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan. Bob.
Alan, things are pretty quiet considering what we've been through over the past several days now. That low pressure area that had been around shifted well to the west now, but it is bringing us some clouds. We had a lot of clouds today. Highs were only into the upper 80s. Normally we get around 90 and the feels like temperature up near 100, but that didn't happen because of the increased cloud cover. We have some storms well inland as expected, not much going on near the coast, so if you have an evening walk planned for a sunset on the beach, you may see a little bit of a glimmer of that sun because the clouds are breaking up a little bit. We had some storms around Punta Gorda, near Northport, near Port Charlotte. Those have since moved east and they are weakening. Some bigger storms near Wauchula now. And you'll notice the general direction of movement is off to the east with that west wind. And I think that'll be the case again tomorrow as we move through the weekend. Now, Sunday, there's a chance for just a few inland showers. Now, with this kind of setup, there's always a possibility of 1 or 2 showers developing overnight and near the coast in the morning and then pushing on shore. So we'll keep a very small chance of rain in the morning along the coast, and then most of it will be inland like we're seeing today. And some of those storms are producing some locally heavy rainfall, but no severe weather reported. Temperatures through this evening looking to be pretty nice, mid-70s by 11 o'clock. We'll have a few clouds around, less cloudiness after midnight. And then here's the futurecast showing those storms shifting off to the east and dissipating. And then basically this is tomorrow, late morning, early afternoon, some showers near the Tampa Bay area. There could be 1 or 2 down here too, but again, the heaviest activity along the east coast in the afternoon and evening. On Sunday, similar conditions anticipated with generally fair skies. The sea breeze will develop and then generate 1 or 2 lone showers near the coast, and then that will shift east of I-75 in the afternoon. This upper level low that you see spinning right here should not have a big influence on our weather over the weekend. It should stay far enough north that we're not going to see the intense storms that they're seeing now over parts of North Florida. Well, not very intense storm as far as hurricanes go, but we do have a tightly wound hurricane, the first one of the season, moving off to the west. We showed you this earlier. There's the forecast path and track. Expected to make landfall as a Category 1 hurricane. And not a lot of the islands are going to get impacted in terms of hurricane force winds if it were to maintain its speed and organization here because the hurricane force winds extend only out about 10 miles from the center. And then it should be down to a tropical storm by Tuesday at 2 o'clock. At this point, it may even be open to just a tropical wave at that point, depending upon how strong these winds break it down on into early next week. So we'll keep an eye on that. We'll also keep an eye on this system. This is that upper level low I mentioned, showed you going over North Florida. This is an area that possibly could develop into Chris over the next 24 to 48 hours. 70% chance of that happening, 80% chance over the next 5 days. And notice the spaghetti model here showing just kind of milling around for the next 3 days, and then all the models agree it will get picked up by a front that'll move across the eastern portion of the United States and carry it off into the open waters of the Atlantic. But the Carolinas are urged, especially North Carolina, to keep a close watch on it. Could get very close to North Carolina. 85 right now. We have some clouds around. The high today was 88. A couple degrees shy of the average because of the increased cloud cover. And tomorrow's forecast looks good. A slight chance, as I mentioned, for a few showers late morning, early afternoon near the coast, and then pretty quiet for throughout the rest of the day. For boaters, not much wind out there for sailing, but good news for boating in general. Seas running less than 2 feet. Forecast, a slight chance for showers tomorrow. A little bit better, but not much on Sunday. We'll have more sunshine on both days, and then we'll get back to that summer pattern of scattered showers and storms Monday through Friday of next week. Alan will be back right after this.
Hi, I'm Chef Bob. Watch Aprons in the Kitchen every Wednesday morning on ABC7, where we'll be serving up the most awesome dishes. Then stop by your neighborhood Publix, pick up the recipe card and all the ingredients.
The following message is brought to you by Mesobook.com.
People who have been diagnosed with mesothelioma have many questions. How did I get this disease? What are my treatment options? How will this affect my loved ones? You need answers, which is why we offer a free book written by medical professionals who have treated mesothelioma.
Call toll-free at 1-800-777-1366 or go to mesobook.com.
WWSB ABC7 is an equal opportunity employer, and we're looking for qualified people to join our dynamic team. For a list of current openings and to apply online, visit www.mysuncoast.com/contact/employment. If you're a motivated team player and you want a rewarding career in a fun, fast-paced working environment, WWSB ABC7 could be the perfect fit for you. Check out our list of openings now.
Every child follows a path in life. For many, that path will lead them to a door that gives them a place to grow, to learn, to belong, a place to forge their future. Because while many doors open, these doors transform. They did for us. Support your local Boys and Girls Clubs. Great futures start here.
For more than 100 years, American Humane Association has been teaching kids to be kind to animals. Those in our homes, on the farms, on the silver screen, and wildlife conservation, caring for the world's vanishing creatures. But we can't do it alone. Visit kindness100.org to find ways to teach kids how they can make a more caring, compassionate, and humane world for all of us.
I used to dread getting up and going to work.
I was done with the corporate grind.
I was tired of being a starving artist.
And I started looking around for a business that I believed in, and I kind of wanted to do something a little more green.
My SCORE mentor helped me take the first step.
He helped me create a business plan and helped me implement it.
They've really taught me how to think big.
SCORE helped me to make the unimaginable possible, all for free. I'm here because of SCORE.
I'm here because of SCORE.
Get your free business mentor at SCORE.org.
Selfless service is the guiding principle of every Army National Guard soldier. They have a stake in the well-being of the neighborhoods where they live and work. To be an Army National Guard soldier is to serve something greater than yourself. Learn more at nationalguard.com.
Welcome back. We are discussing the week in Washington, and joining us for more are former State Representative Keith Fitzgerald, the political editor of SRQ Magazine, Jacob Ogles, and Sarasota Republican Party member Lynn Larson. There's so much to go over, and also to go over from the president's rally last night. You know, it was pure Trump, but a lot of people are taking notice in terms of how he went about, you know, taking jabs at former President George Bush, who, as we know, recently lost his wife. This is part of what the president had to say.
I know one thing. Make America great again, we understand. Putting America first, we understand. 1,000 points of light. I never quite got that one. I'm trying to say, what the hell is that? Has anyone ever figured that one out? And it was put out by a Republican.
You know, Lynn, I know this is almost kind of freestyle thinking and speech making here, but there are a lot of Republicans here on the Sun Coast who hold President Bush with some reverence, not to mention his age and everything else. Was that necessary?
I don't think any Republican likes 100% of what President Trump says or does some days, but he does go off script. I think what we do like is what he's accomplishing and what he's trying to accomplish.
You know, Keith, I mean, look, new numbers came out today, the jobs report. You know, jobs are being created. Unemployment ticked up slightly just because more people are looking for jobs right now. So there's a point.
Well, first, as far as his rhetoric is concerned, it's really just not defensible. And we do want from our president a sense of optimism and being uplifting and that we can pull together.
But who's we? I mean, because obviously...
Well, what I was going to say is I think one of the things about President Trump we have to realize is that he's a symptom of a decline in our culture on both sides of the political spectrum. He's not the cause, and so we should acknowledge that. I think that if we talked about policy, it really has not been a very good week for President Trump. The economy's chunking along based on the policies the last president put into place, but now it's starting to show some signs of moving in a different direction because of this imminent trade war.
Lynn is smiling, but Jacob, I'll give you the question here because a lot of the supporters of the president here on the Sun Coast look at the jobs numbers and say, you know what, he's getting it done.
Well, I'll tell you, I always find it somewhat amusing when political parties start arguing over statistics and long-term effects and all this sort of thing when it comes to the economy. All that really matters to voters is how the economy feels in their own lives. Is their own job safe? Do they see a future with where they're going? That's what's going to matter.
And by the way, although you know those numbers look good, pay is not really increasing for many Americans, and that's an important point. We are just getting warmed up. Our conversation on the week in Washington will continue after this break.
This is an important message for anyone with Medicare. You may be eligible for an all-in-one Medicare plan that combines hospital, medical, and prescription drug coverage together with extra benefits that may include dental, vision, hearing aids, and much more. Some of these plans have a $0 monthly premium regardless of your income. That's right. For one low plan premium, or in some cases a $0 premium, you may be able to get coverage for your hospital visits, doctor appointments, prescription drugs, routine dental care, eyeglasses and contact lenses, hearing aids, and possibly more. Today may be the first time you've heard about this type of Medicare plan. The advisors at the Medicare.com helpline are licensed insurance agents who will explain more when you call. Call now to see if you qualify. Call the number on your screen now. Call now to see if you qualify for these benefits. You worked hard for your Medicare. Now is the time for your Medicare to work hard for you. Not affiliated with or acting on behalf of any government agency or program.
If you've been injured in an accident that wasn't your fault, and you're struggling to pay your bills while your case is dragging on, that's where Oasis Financial comes in. Only Oasis has Oasis Express Cash that can get you from $500 to $25,000 in as little as 24 hours, faster than anyone else. There's no risk and no out-of-pocket cost.
It was so simple. I made one phone call. Oasis was able to give me the money within 24 hours.
To pay for my electric bill, my rent, and my groceries for my children.
And even if you end up losing your case, Oasis lets you keep the money. So there's absolutely no risk to you. You don't have to worry about repaying Oasis.
If I had lost my case, then I wouldn't be responsible for paying the money back. And that was a blessing.
Oasis, they killed it, man. They helped me out. They gave me my life back.
See how much money you can get before your case settles. Call Oasis Financial because life moves faster than your case. 1-800-874-8185. 1-800-874-8185.
Coast Guard, we are taking on water.
The United States Coast Guard. They secure our ports and waterways, protect our environment, keep drugs away from our kids, and save lives. It's dangerous work. And in times of triumph or tragedy, the Coast Guard Foundation answers the call to support Coast Guard members and their families. Learn more at coastguardfoundation.org.
Hamilton was adopted from a rescue in 2008. He really likes to be around people. And as soon as I start to make my breakfast, Hamilton is right there. I get out my mat and I'm doing a downward dog and he's underneath. He's quite the pug about town. He gets invited to a lot of parties. He knows he's a pretty big deal. I mean, look at this little face. How could you not love him?
Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made her college years happen. Opening that education savings account when she was little. Spearheading a campus tour. And another, and another, and another, and another. Bam! Deciphering financial aid. She was like, what? But now she's like, you aced planning for college. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
You're watching ABC7 News at 7:30.
Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, we are discussing the week in Washington, and joining us for more, our former state representative and current New College of Florida political science professor Keith Fitzgerald, the political editor of SRQ magazine Jacob Ogles, and Sarasota Republican Party member Lynn Larson. It was such an eventful week. It's going to be a huge week next week when the president announces his pick for the U.S. Supreme Court on Monday, and then he goes abroad. He goes to talk to NATO, and then he goes and talks to President Putin of Russia. And the president talked about Putin yesterday after he took jabs at President Bush and John McCain and Maxine Waters and journalists. But this is what he said about NATO, which is the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which has been part of our being for over 50 years.
Okay, so they want to protect against Russia, yet they pay billions of dollars to Russia, and we're the schmucks that are paying for the whole thing.
Now, particularly, the president is talking about Germany, and it should be noted that the only time that NATO has been called up to actually fight is after 9/11, when the Germans fought along us in Afghanistan, and I believe over 50 Germans died for us in Afghanistan. Why are we taking shots at NATO while giving Putin all these accolades?
I don't think it's just Germany. I think one of the problems is if you look at the European countries and the amount of money that they spend on defense versus what we're spending on defense to defend them. I think that's the problem. Their economy can grow significantly better.
What is the alternative? The president suggested taking our troops out of Germany, which I would imagine advances the cause of Russia, who, for so many decades threatened rolling tanks into Germany.
I don't think he's going to take the troops out of Germany, but I think he's probably trying to negotiate a better deal with Germany on the fact that we are representing and defending all the NATO countries.
Fair enough, Jacob. I mean, it's really kind of remarkable who the president chooses to go after and who the president shows a lot of respect for.
Well, certainly the issue with Putin, it surprised me for 2 years now how no matter what criticism comes at him for his favorable discussions about Putin, he doesn't stop. It never seems to generate positive press for him. Now, in terms of the NATO stuff, I think what you're seeing here is an extension of a growing nationalism that we've seen not just in the United States, but overseas. And you know what? The domestic press focuses a lot on some of the negative things that can accompany nationalism, but at its core, what drives that is this feeling that countries ought to be standing for themselves. That's going to drive the conversation here. It's also driving the conversation in a lot of European nations. And that makes you wonder where NATO and the UN are going to play a role, not just here, but abroad.
Keith, isn't that fair enough? Because people, whether you're Republican or Democrats or independents on the Sun Coast, may believe in the core mission of NATO if they really think about NATO at all. But in this day and age, the president makes a point that it is something that all these countries have to pay into, if not evenly, at least pay their fair weight.
Well, you should listen to what was just said about nationalism because it's very important. I think there's a very legitimate question about why it is the case that individual European countries have not carried their fair share, and getting tough on them is fine. But this is a real deviation in our policy toward a highly nationalistic one. And the problem with nationalism is it corrodes a sense of unity within, because when they say us, it never is inclusive of the entire population. So it sets up fissures that often lead to very bad things. And internationally, if it's everybody for themselves, that can lead to international conflict. And you just said it, it's very, very important. We have done very well by NATO. So if we have a complaint about payment schedules, fine, let's negotiate it. But NATO has worked so great for the United States. It has been so fantastic. We've developed and helped develop a gigantic economic partner. If you look at EU as if it were a country, the United States are 1, 2 in the biggest economies in the world. And that's because of NATO. It's done extremely well for us, and we shouldn't be facile about throwing it out the window.
All right, let's rocket through a couple of other issues that are really important, including the president's pick for the U.S. Supreme Court that is going to take place on Monday. Lynn, I don't know how you feel about the pick. I don't know how you feel about Roe versus Wade, but what are you hoping for in terms of a justice that the president picks on Monday?
The people that I have read that are in the list, in the short list, I'm very impressed with, and I think they all could do a great job. So I'm looking forward to it. There's 2 women that I've seen that are on the short list, and I'm looking forward to the possibility of them.
Well, let me ask you this, because for many years here on the Sun Coast, you had Republicans who were great contributors to Planned Parenthood, which is headquartered here in Sarasota, and foremost on their minds at this point is whether or not Roe versus Wade is being threatened.
There's Roe versus Wade, but there's also a point where you think, if you look at premature babies, we're aborting babies that at the same time, if they were a premature baby with a mother in labor, they would be saved. There's something wrong with that. There's something wrong with the fact that it's okay to take a viable fetus and kill it.
And Keith,
Well,
hold on.
Yeah.
Elections have consequences, and the president won. This was on the ballot in 2016, and Americans spoke.
Yeah, I do have to address that point. It just as a matter of fact, viable babies are not aborted in the United States. It's not allowed. Viability is not within the slot of time when abortions are permitted. And almost all abortions, 90% or more, are done in the first trimester. So those are just some facts. I can't just sort of leave that hanging out there because it's just not true. And it's sort of a really horrible thing to say. But you're right. I mean, elections do have consequences, and this is the way it's supposed to work. The president's supposed to be able to nominate a choice, and if they're nominally qualified, they're supposed to be put on the Supreme Court. That didn't happen last time, and I'm afraid the fight may happen again where the Democratic Senate may try what they can to stop this one from going forward.
Jacob, do you get any sense in terms of how people here on the Sun Coast view this particular issue? It's obviously controversial, always has been, but it is safe to say, unless the power changes in the state legislature, if Roe versus Wade is overturned, Florida is going to be pretty quick to outlaw in Florida.
I'd be curious to see if they really follow through with that. I think that this is a more politically divided state than the legislature's makeup would indicate. And I imagine there might be electoral consequences. I'm curious, actually, to hear, 10 years ago, it felt like there was a particularly pro-choice makeup to the Republican Party in Sarasota compared to the rest of the state. I don't know if that's true anymore, and I'd actually love to know if people think that is the case. But I wouldn't hold my breath and think Florida, the 3rd largest state in the union, is going to be the first state to try and test an overturn of Roe versus Wade.
We shall see. We have to take a quick break, and we'll be back for final thoughts in a moment. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Chef Bob. Watch Aprons in the Kitchen every Wednesday morning on ABC7. where we'll be serving up the most awesome dishes. Then stop by your neighborhood Publix, pick up the recipe card and all the ingredients.
When you are home alone, an emergency can become a tragedy. However, with any of Life Alert's 3 emergency systems, help can be summoned immediately, whether in the bathroom,
I've fallen in the shower.
at home,
Help! I've fallen and I can't get up.
and on the go.
Help! I've fallen in the park and I can't get up.
Don't worry, help is on the way.
Life Alert saves a life every 11 minutes.
For a free Life Alert brochure, call 1-800-518-0221. That's 1-800-518-0221. Call now, 1-800-518-0221. For a free brochure, call 1-800-518-0221. Did you know that a dirty CPAP system can make you sick? If you knew what could be growing in your mask and hose, it would keep you up at night. Now SoClean.com has released the world's first and only automated hands-free CPAP cleaner and sanitizer. With its patented design, SoClean is fast, effective, and hands-free, killing 99.9% of all CPAP germs. Try SoClean now through this special TV offer free for 30 days. Just call 800-604-0398.
My health has improved. It's simple to use, and I'm not worried about infections.
SoClean works on all CPAP machines and popular masks, destroying CPAP bacteria, viruses, and germs without the daily hassle of washing your system by hand. Just place your mask in, close the lid, and in just minutes, voila! Sanitized and ready to use. Try SoClean risk-free for 30 days. This is a limited time offer. Call now, 800-604-0398, or visit SoClean.com today.
Don't allow your weight to threaten your health or control your future. Excess weight or obesity can cause emotional and physical health risks. But you can take control. The Your Weight Matters campaign offers free resources and tips to help you measure and understand your weight. Take the Your Weight Matters Challenge. The free toolkit prepares you to speak with a healthcare provider about your weight. Your weight does matter. Take the challenge and take control today.
Find out first at 4 with ABC7 News at 4. First Alert weather, breaking news, live updates, traffic, all at a new, more convenient time. Find out first at 4. Weekdays on ABC7.
And our guest joining us right now for final thoughts, and we're going to talk about a local election, the election for U.S. Congress in the 16th Congressional District. I hear, Keith, you know that district well. We have the first negative ad of the campaign. It is against Congressman Vern Buchanan. Let's take a look.
Vern Buchanan made millions selling used cars. Now Vern Buchanan is making millions selling the new tax law he helped write. Vern Buchanan stands to gain from the tax law he shepherded. Vern advertised it as a middle-class tax cut, but under the hood, most Americans will pay more in taxes to pay for a windfall for Buchanan of up to $2.1 million.
Wow. Well, we contacted the Buchanan campaign, and they pointed out there are 2 really significant issues. Jacob, one of them is the fact that we don't know who took out this ad. It comes under, I think it's the 501c4, which means that the contributors to the PAC that bought this ad on this station and many others doesn't have to reveal who is actually contributing to it, and that's what people hate about politics. Max Goodman of the Buchanan campaign says dark money groups that hide in the shadows while attempting to deceive the public are why so many people hate politics.
I mean, that's true. And I'll tell you, I don't know if your viewers will quite believe this, but nobody at this table has even the slightest idea, it sounds like, who is behind these particular ads. That's something that, considering everything that's happened with campaign finance laws since Watergate, is rather shocking.
Keith?
I completely agree with Max Goodman on this. He's just right. It's not right that we have people who can put ads on TV and not be accountable. And I might agree with some of the content of that ad, but the way we do this it's just not right. So I agree.
Lynn, speak to the point that the ad was trying to make, and also Max Goodman goes on to say that that ad criticizes a tax cut for 90% of Americans. Just sounds like a brilliant idea. We'd love to have this debate, especially since the average Florida family will save $2,200 a year thanks to the tax cut. Nancy Pelosi calls crumbs, but most people know it's a lot of money and will make a difference. But the ad points out it's going to make a bigger difference for people like Congressman Buchanan.
It may make a bigger difference for him, but he did not pass that for himself. He passed it for American families, and that's who is benefiting from it. And I hope that ad backfires. But it is a shame that in this day and age, someone can put that out without having to disclose who they are.
Both sides do ads like that.
We've got one now coming out for the Democrats for governor that, Gwen Graham. It's like we've got the Democrats beating each other up. So I'm like sitting there watching thinking, well, maybe she doesn't look quite so bad, when they're telling me how all about the things they don't like about her.
This is what people hate about politics.
I definitely think it is. And again, I mean, we could have a civil argument about whether that characterization of the tax plan is correct or not. I actually think it's fairly correct, but you have this group who we have no clue who it is, and I seriously have no clue who it is, who's interjecting themselves into this conversation. And again, it's sort of this cynical way of writing the ads, I think, that erodes the whole process.
Real quick.
Yeah. Well, it strikes me how specific that ad is. I don't know if this strikes everybody, but that wasn't just an assembly line ad that could go to any district in America. That was specifically about Vern Buchanan, who did make his money in cars.
Okay, we want to thank Keith Fitzgerald, Jacob Ogles, and Lynn Larson for joining us tonight. When we return, as China's foreign minister describes it, it could be the beginning of the biggest trade war in economic history. Your primetime headlines are coming up in a moment, but right now let's get a final check on our first alert forecast with Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan.
Thanks, Al. Music on Main happening at Lakewood Ranch. They're happy to see no rain around right now. You can see, as I take you through time, here's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You'll watch this parking lot just fill up with cars as a result of that event. Now, the skies are clearing, too, as a result of the low pressure in the Gulf of Mexico, which was providing those clouds, moving away, and a little low over South Florida, also heading to the east. So things are looking better and better for us here through this evening. You see some heavy weather into Polk County, also up near Hillsborough. That activity has been rather strong along Interstate 4 and I-75. So if you have a drive along there, at least in the next half hour, you're going to run into some big storms east into Highlands County. A few showers there, but look at the rainfall estimates today. Nothing going on near the coast at all, hardly. We had a few showers near Rotunda, also near Northport, stretching down to Port Charlotte and Punta Gorda, but it was not around all that long today. As Futurecast goes, maybe 1 or 2 lone showers into central Florida. That upper level low continues to spin off to the west. There's a chance for a few showers along the coast in the morning, as we've been talking about. And then for most of the day, it looks to be pretty good. A little bit more sunshine tomorrow, too, I do believe, as a result of a little bit high pressure moving in, that low kind of scooting out of here. And as far as Sunday's forecast goes, it, too, looks great for us for the weekend. So a nice weekend ahead. No worries in terms of any widespread big rain event taking place. And then there goes that upper level low spinning off toward the west right now. It's really enhanced the storms over North Florida tonight. And then we'll watch this area for the potential for development. This is the potential for Chris. And in fact, the Hurricane Center is giving it a pretty good chance as it meanders just off the Carolina coast several hundred miles. Now, the forecast is calling for it to kind of sit and spin here for about 3 days and then take off to the northeast on day 4 and 5. Right now, it's just a disturbed area, and we're watching it very closely. It's 96L. Invest 96L. I want to show you the water temperatures. Very warm now in the Gulf of Mexico, 90 degrees, not out of the question right there off the southeast coast of Florida, 90. But as you move into the Caribbean and into the Atlantic, it's much cooler than average. And that is going to help us in terms of the big storms that we saw last year. Won't be as prevalent this season, especially during the heat of the hurricane season, which is September. August and September, really. But the water temperature at 77, that usually means you're not going to see a storm form there. But we did see Beryl pop up. We'll keep an eye on the Western Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico. This is a favorite area for development during the month of June, July, and early August, but nothing going on there right now. 85 in Jacksonville, 75. It's cooled, rain cool there in Orlando. And as far as the temperatures go up and down the coast, low to mid 80s. The Gulf water temperature, a steamy 87 degrees. And a bit cooler in Highlands County in the 70s there due to the rain cooled air. 85 currently. We have a few clouds around. And the sun's starting to pop out here and there. 88 degrees the high, a couple degrees shy of the normal 90. The forecast tomorrow, I'm going to keep a slight chance for a few showers in the mix late morning, early afternoon. Shouldn't be a lot. The heat index will be in the mid-90s and no 100 or extreme temperatures expected tomorrow. Highs will be pretty close to seasonal averages. And then it will be extreme, though, in Phoenix, in places like Salt Lake City and Billings, Montana. 90s there. That's the current temperature. And then highs tomorrow will stay hot right through that area. A bit cooler, a bit of a break after an extreme heat week across much of the Great Lakes and the Northeast. For boaters, winds will be very light out there. Seas running less than 2 feet, really, and a light chop. And the forecast looks like this for a slight chance for showers on Saturday, Sunday. Not much of a chance, and then we get back into scattered afternoon and evening storms. We could see an additional moisture come into play Wednesday and Thursday from the remnants of what was Beryl. Alan will be back right after this.
If you've been injured in an accident that wasn't your fault, and you're struggling to pay your bills while your case is dragging on, that's where Oasis Financial comes in. Only Oasis has Oasis Express Cash that can get you from $500 to $25,000 in as little as 24 hours, faster than anyone else. There's no risk and no out-of-pocket cost.
It was so simple. I made one phone call. Oasis was able to give me the money within 24 hours.
To pay for my electric bill, my rent, and my groceries for my children.
And even if you end up losing your case, Oasis lets you keep the money. So there's absolutely no risk to you. You don't have to worry about repaying Oasis.
If I had lost my case, then I wouldn't be responsible for paying the money back. And that was a blessing.
Oasis, they killed it, man. They helped me out. They gave me my life back.
See how much money you can get before your case settles. Call Oasis Financial, because life moves faster than your case. 1-800-874-8185. 1-800-874-8185.
So, how many of us feel completely confident about our financial future? Let's hear some specifics. Yes, go ahead.
I don't want to be a burden to my kids. When my husband died, it took almost all of our savings to give him a proper funeral. I honestly don't know if there's enough to bury me, let alone cover expenses should something happen.
Okay. Let's talk solutions. One thing you may want to get in place is a guaranteed whole life insurance policy from United of Omaha Life Insurance Company, which is a Mutual of Omaha company. This is affordable coverage, which provides a cash payment which can cover funeral expenses, bills, and other financial needs. Most payments are on their way within 24 hours. Yes, sir.
I need medical exams, things like that.
No medical exams. If you're between the ages of 45 and 85, you can call this number, or you can go online and apply for coverage up to $25,000. United of Omaha Guaranteed Whole Life Insurance. Call or go online now.
Hello, I'm John Merce. Rugs As Art is celebrating yet another anniversary, and I would personally like to thank each and every one of you for the many years of continuous support. All during the month of July, we're having a grand celebration. We have flooded our showroom with yellow tag specials, meaning more discounts and more savings than ever before, plus free padding. So don't miss this anniversary celebration at Rugs As Art, Sarasota's bigger and better area rug superstore.
Selfless service is the principle that guides Army National Guard soldiers to be ready whenever disaster strikes. They have a stake in the well-being of the neighborhoods where they live and work. They train part-time to be ready to serve at all times. Selfless service. It's what inspires the men and women of the Army National Guard to be part of something greater than themselves. Visit NationalGuard.com to learn more.
Checking primetime headlines, the Trump administration's tariffs on Chinese goods went into effect today, and China is fighting back. ABC's Stephanie Ramos reports from Washington.
The trade battle with China is getting worse.
I respect China and I respect President Xi, but they've been killing us.
Since January, the Trump administration has threatened more and more tariffs on Chinese goods, prompting a back and forth of trade threats between the two countries, leading up to today, when the U.S. placed new tariffs on $34 billion worth of Chinese goods.
I don't think anybody wants to see a trade war. No one wins.
And it's really not just the U.S. or China. It's really impacting the whole world.
China says they were forced to respond with their own tariffs, calling this the largest trade war in history. Their target list of American goods include electric cars, whiskey, poultry, and soybeans. Farmers across the country say they hope this dispute is temporary.
Given profit margins we have, that's enough to take a majority chunk out of our profits.
Right now, U.S. tariffs are on Chinese machinery, motors, airplanes, and other components, and could have major consequences on some U.S. companies. For example, American car makers who use some of those Chinese parts, they'll have to pay more for them, in turn charging consumers more. And there is no end in sight. President Trump has threatened to impose taxes on an additional $200 billion worth of Chinese goods.
Our member companies are very concerned.
President Trump is also threatening to impose tariffs on European cars, trucks, and auto parts, while the EU has already put tariffs on U.S. vehicles. Stephanie Ramos, ABC News, Washington.
Embattled FBI agent Peter Strzok is expected to testify publicly next week before Congress. Strzok was removed from special counsel Robert Mueller's team because of derogatory text messages about Donald Trump during the 2016 presidential race. He exchanged those texts with a former FBI lawyer, Lisa Page, who he was having an affair with. During that time, they were working on the investigation into Hillary Clinton's private email server and potential collusion between Russia and the Trump campaign. Strzok's attorney says this is in the statement Friday. More than anyone, Special Agent Strzok wants to testify publicly and attempt to have the unfiltered truth be heard. Members of Congress have made this difficult as possible. Strzok will testify next Thursday at a joint session of the House Oversight and Judiciary Committees. And that's all the time we have for this evening. I'm Alan Cohn. Thanks for joining us and have a great weekend.